Welcome to the Todd DeVoe Show, exploring the best ideas and lessons for leaders.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine land. I am excited about today. Today's an awesome day. We're going to get into the conversation, though, about how professional associations have to change to meet members' needs. And I'll tell you, I've been involved with professional associations for the majority of my career, in one way or another, either as a member, which it's how normal, that's how we mostly start, and then of course now here I'm on the board and the president of IAM Region 9, just for full disclosure, and I'm going to bring in one of my favorite people, Isamar Garcia. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know this is an exciting day for you because today is opening day for Major League Baseball.
Oh, go sports ball! I love me some sports.
And your favorite team is
the one that is playing.
Absolutely. Yes. Isamar is not a sports fan by any means, but it is what it is. But
I was activated, and when we got the major deck, that felt like sports ball. I felt I could understand the camaraderie that happens during the sports.
During the sports.
Yeah.
Well, Major League Baseball has been, as I said, the American sport, right? It was great. Now here's some little sports ball history for you, right? The guy who created baseball, his name is Doubleday. Doubleday Field in Cooperstown is named after him, right? Okay. And he actually was an officer. I think he became general, or at least in the upper ranks of the Union Army during the Civil War. And he actually was one of the guys who helped win the Battle of Gettysburg against the South. So for those of you that go to Emmitsburg, Maryland, make sure you make your way over to Gettysburg, and you can see where Doubleday walked the battlefield, and his troops did some great stuff. And he created baseball, which today is the beginning of Major League Baseball. And that's how we tie baseball to emergency management, because it's all interrelated somehow. All right. That's not what we're here to talk about, though. We are here to talk about how professional associations have to change to really meet members' needs. And I'll start off here by saying, as a member, I've been a member of associations, member of California Association. Last few years, I haven't really done anything with the association, just due to my being busy, but I pay my dues. And the question is like, well, what do I get out of that professionally? And with IAM, obviously, as a member, and now I'm the president of IAM Region 9. And Isamar, you're involved in both organizations pretty heavily. What do we need to do? What do professional associations need to do to better serve their members?
Get that public affairs component out for sure. Not to toot their own horn, but in all seriousness, the transparency, what's happening up at the board level or what's happening with the committees, any type of engagement needs to be known to membership at large. And how you get that across comes through whatever engagement it be, whether it be newsletter, podcast, webinars, what else, social media, however you're in whatever capacity you end up messaging, your public outreach needs to show your membership you are doing something, like that you are. So for instance, with California Emergency Services Association, or CISA, the legislative committee is doing a lot of work that it just goes over my head because I don't know the legislative lingo, but they do. Those that have an interest in the legislation and understand what it means can then report back the impacts of what this new bill will be or what position it's on, and whatever work is happening with the volunteers that are doing the work. At least your membership benefits, like, yes, I'm a part of an association that is actively promoting emergency management and its progress in the future.
So as a member, let's talk about those that just pay their dues, right? They pay their dues. Maybe the dues are paid for them from their employer, and you say, oh, you should get involved with the association. And maybe they ask the question of like, what's in it for me? Maybe they just go to the conference once a year and or whatever. What is in the association for most members? Like, what do they get out of it outside of saying they're a member?
From my experience on both sides, definitely it's one, I'm a member, right? So that's just one. It also goes to a personal contribution if you're a member of an emergency management association. So tally number 2. And really, I think that each association has its own flavor, right? It has its own personality, its own persona. So it really comes down to the association, what it means. But unless you're not providing any membership engagement, webinars, events, in-person conferences, like, it's hard to say like what you actually get other than just putting it on your resume that you're a member. It comes down to almost what you put into it.
I say that a lot to people when they ask me the same question. I said, well, the association, you get out of what you put into it. And then I was challenged one time by saying, well, should there be more? And I think about, like, I don't know, I'm laughing because I just got a letter in the mail from them, and I'm not that old. Well, maybe I am, but I got an AARP membership application. It's like,
it's okay. I get those emails too, or those messages too. So.
Yeah, I'm just, yes, I'm turning 53. All right. But doesn't mean I'm retired and or that old to be part of it. But the reason why I bring this up is that association specifically of a bunch of old people, right? And obviously they want me in their club, so I guess they consider me an old person. They give discounts, they give this, they give that. They have like ARP trips and all this all kind of stuff like this. I mean, it's an association that realistically what they do is they go forth and argue, for different things that impact retired persons. They're basically a political body. Probably a little bit more than that, but that's the gist of it. Professional associations don't really offer those, like, discount trips and stuff like this for their members, but they offer other things, I think, that are just as important, if not maybe more. And I just did a matter of fact, I did a speech yesterday to another association for business continuity professionals, and I was talking about creating anti-fragile teams. And if you've known, guys have all heard me speak about anti-fragility, and Dr. Randy Collins is the reason why I'm on that trip, by the way. Just thank you, Randy. But the idea here is creating those anti-fragile teams. This is what I was talking to about. But the part that I really was stressing, and the call that I have, is we as professionals have to be lifelong learners, right? And that's one thing I think that we can do better as associations, specifically IAM and CISA, the two that we belong to, that we could do better of getting learning opportunities. And what I found was fantastic is I was at the Southern California's CISA meeting the other day, and Jenny Novak was talking about her book club. And I know we do a lot of stuff, the Emergency Management Network, with books and reading. We don't necessarily have an official book club, but Mark Baker is doing a great job with doing the speaker series when it comes to authors, and encouraging that and giving opportunities for education and training, and bringing it either. My goal would be to bring it to members for free, or at a very, very discounted level. Do you think that's something that we should be focusing on as associations?
The price?
Not just the price, but the content.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. One, as a CISA member, I'm really glad that you were in attendance for the Southern Chapter Spring Program. So awesome. Fantastic. Also, are you also a participant of the state book club, the CISA State Book Club?
I just found out about it.
Oh, man. You should follow social media.
I've read all the books that are on that list. I do follow social media.
No, but I think that certain initiatives like that just came out of a want, right? This was an idea, and I was actually thankfully a part of that conversation. And because I helped market as public affairs for CISA, that there was an ask about having a book club, just a way to engage, have it be membership engagement. I honestly think that those type of opportunities should be offered, whether it be membership engagement, whether it be training and education, whether it be the programs that you have or that CISA has for its various chapters and workshops. I think the content is very key, because if it's just, you're going to say the same thing at every workshop or at every training or at every conference, it's almost a moot point, and there is really no reason for turning the tide. There's no reason to having a membership at that point. But as long as individuals are always wanting to teach or just wanting to inform from the perspective and having those deep kind of conversations, or just, this is how we did it here, maybe this might help you, who knows? But I think the content is really key when it comes down to an opportunity as a member. And then secondarily, to chime on the price, I think ideally it would be nice to have things free, because if it's free, then it's for me. And I could definitely chime on that one. But I do also understand that sometimes in order to get to a destination, you do have to spend a couple cash, and sometimes that's on the backs of the membership starting out, right? Hopefully there's enough engagement that there's a return on investment so that it can come to the members at a reduced price.
Yeah, that's, like I said, that's always been the goal. I think that's one of the reasons why when we had the IEM Region 9 Symposium, we worked hard. When I say the idea of giving the direction was to keep the price as low as possible for the membership. Outside of that, we can always discuss the idea of what price is and what it means, but I think the content side of it is critical. I know that Ismar, you're doing some great stuff with the IEM Region 9 podcast, to bring light to the members. But the other side of it, though, too, is, even with the podcast and the newsletters that we produce for IEM members, I follow the CISA stuff, but I was unaware of the book club, because you're so inundated with social media and things. Keeping up with it it's sometimes hard. And I tell the story all the time about all the stuff that you do for notification, and sometimes you just miss people. So that's that side of it too. And I know that you're doing great work with social media and media outreach in general, but sometimes we miss it, right? And it kind of goes into the conversation of, as much as we try to converse with the members, there is a little bit of responsibility that lays upon the members' shoulders. Am I wrong on that?
Reframe your question with different words.
Yeah, so as much as work as you've done is putting information out about what's happening with CISA, and even me as a CISA member, I get emails, lots of emails. I get the social media stuff. I follow it, but I still miss things, right? And I said, outside of you calling me up personally and saying, "Hey, Todd, we got this really great effort happening. What is my responsibility as a member to find out what's happening with the association?
Well, I think it's even with IAM and CISA for both associations, and I'm not sure how this is for others, but I think logging into the member-based portal, right, that offers you the opportunity to look behind the wall to see what's actually going down within the association, like what's a calendar, right? For instance, CISA's calendar, there's a public-facing calendar that has the events that you can see, but then once you log into the portal, hashtag CISA, I guess we'll do that there. But once you log into the portal, you get to see the meetings that are happening, regardless what chapter you're in. You get to, as a member, you get that benefit. And if you want to go listen into what's happening within the inland region, you can. If you want to go listen into what's happening in the southern region at the general meeting, as long as it's provided virtually, obviously, then you can. But you wouldn't know that unless you were to log in to the platform. So that would be the onus on the member, but it comes back to the transparency and making sure that the association, whichever association, that the association is informing the members of what to do, right? When you're just like, oh, we're just inundated and I, it just doesn't get across. I'm like, no, I'm not doing my job. But I can only imagine that that's what emergency managers in the day-to-day jurisdictions feel, right? You're doing the same methodology of outreach and trying to get the message across, like say, for instance, with a go bag, pack a go bag, and you're hyping it down every time, right? Does your public make a go bag? Do they have go bags at the ready? More often than not, it's a no.
Right.
But you're inundated with that. So it's almost the same. Like, what you have to ask, what would be best? What's the best way to connect, right? What's the best method to get across to your members? So you could do polls, surveys. If you have a social media tool, you could also gauge the engagement to see what is doing well statistically. That is what I do as a social media consultant. I'm a strategist for a consulting firm, and I just look at the numbers just to see what does well, what doesn't. So I think that's another thing that we should also be looking forward to, is how we engage now and what worked well in the past. In person worked super well, but as a big association, is it always feasible? As Region 9, is it always feasible?
Right.
As CISA, is it always feasible, right? And in that instance, associations have changed. They've moved to, associations and everyone else has moved to a virtual platform because of COVID. But it also gave that transparency to have that.
How do we use technology better?
That is a great question. Do you have examples?
Well, I mean, you talked about virtual conferences, podcasts, the newsletters, the social media. Is there, I mean, I guess those are all technologies. Is there a way that we can use technology more efficiently? The back end portal type thing. I know the IEM has I forget what it's called. I'm sorry. They're going to kill me on that one. The portal basically. Connect. Yeah, the Connect. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sorry, John Osborne. I apologize. The IEM Connect, to do those things. Yeah, I mean, like, are we leveraging technology in such a way that it is efficient and useful?
No. In my personal opinion, I would say no. And only because we could always do better, right? There's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. I think what we're leaning towards as a whole, as we move from a profession infancy, if you will, into more set in our ways as a profession, and we're getting a little bit more technical on what the responsibilities are within emergency management. I think that could be replicated into associations in creating some type of hub right? If I worked previously at a county jurisdiction, I hop into another county jurisdiction down the line, those resources that were in one county shouldn't be limited, or the same resources that I would be using at a different county, right? Realistically. And flooding's still going to happen. I'm still going to watch the river gauges, and I should be able to go find something somewhere where it all lives. Like, oh, if I'm dealing with tornadoes, I really shouldn't talk on something that I don't know anything about. So let's revert back.
Hey, man, we have tornado.
That's true.
We had two tornadoes.
And it is a history.
And our friends in the Midwest, in the Midwest, would laugh at us, saying, those aren't really tornadoes, but they did spin and they ripped roofs off of people's, and of course, couldn't have a tornado without it hitting a trailer park. So California had a tornado that hit the trailer park. I have a theory on that, and it's probably inappropriate, but I'll share it anyway because I don't know why tornadoes are attracted to trailer parks. But we had a tornado many years ago. It was a water spout that turned into a land spout, as they called it, aka tornado. And where did it hit? It went into the harbor and sunk a few boats. And boats are pretty much floating trailers. Same concept. Just saying.
But yeah, I think we could use technology. The way that we use technology as an emergency management professional is definitely a way that we should be using it in an association.
Heat maps and things like that.
That'd be cool. It's a resource though, right? And if I'm a part of an association or a part of a group, hey, can you help me connect me to someone else? And if it's an action that's repeated, right? Just like science, you get the same result. Maybe that might be worth it to post it somewhere.
I was talking to a bunch of people at the All Hazards Incident Management Team Association. Randy Collins, why everything you're involved with has such long acronyms. And the same conversation is being held there, though, right? It's not. My point about it isn't just IEM. It's not just CISA. All Hazards Management Team Association is having those conversations about how they could better serve members. And it seems like, I went to the FIPA conference a few years ago. Well, I went to the FIPA conference the week that COVID broke out, or the week before or whatever. I've been to the Nevada's conference. I've been to a couple other conferences around the country. And the conversation always revolves around, is this association more than just putting on an annual conference and training? And I have to say, yeah, absolutely. Associations are more than just conference creators, place for networking, because it used to be that, right? It used to be you join an association no matter what it is, and it's those networking opportunities that are important. And I don't disagree with that. I love the networking portion of what these conferences are about, right? And we build networking into what we do, right? But then on the other side of it, though, is you take a look at what IEM is doing. Nationally speaking, NEPA is doing at the Nevada, CISA is doing in California, FIPA doing in Florida. I'm going to name the ones I know. So if I miss your association, please, I'm sure there's more than 50 of them. There's 50
all up
states,
here.
right? And then, the national NEMA for the National Emergency Managers Association. So we have these associations that realistically are doing a lot of great work. I think one thing that we need to do with IEM necessarily or NEMA or both together is how do we mold all these associations and having a direction, not necessarily a single direction, but damn close to a single direction of being able to move emergency management forward. And that's what I think our professional associations have to do to help members, is to move the profession forward. And and in moving the profession forward, we're going to come across some hiccups and speed bumps, and I hope we don't run into the Rocky Mountains in the middle of these things, because I think when we start looking at this and start seeing associations, if there's ever like internal fighting that goes on, things like this, it's never good for the members. What I mean by that is, are we together to move things forward? And yeah, we're going to have problems. I think every association has run through problems. We had problems at CISA, years ago. Hopefully that those are fixed, right? And we had, I'm sure, problems years ago at IEM, and problems today, I'm sure. And we have problems at the national level of things. What I mean by that is, you bring people together with different ideas, and sometimes they conflict.
What's good about a profession is that we problem solve really well.
Yeah.
It's an innate feature in our minds that we're able to do. So I think even with all those issues and problems, as long as we have, you're right, as long as we have one common operating picture, we should be golden. And I think that also chimes into the standardization that's currently underway with the profession itself, right? If we have a standard of what the profession means, we might have an easier time standardizing and directing or defining a goal for associations.
I'm going to give you the last word on this, and I'm going to tee up with a hard, but I think at the same time really feasible question that you will be able to do well with. Since you're emerging and coming from that concept of emerging professionals, what would you say to fellow emerging professionals or students or people who are just kind of floating around? Why should they become part of an association?
Ooh, get in now and do the work. So that's by talking to them. But my actual answer would be it's actually a really good thing, right? Like, it's a big mentorship avenue. You get to learn from the professionals who are currently in the field. You get to be a part of the building blocks of an association. If the profession is very young, then the associations associated to the profession are just as young, right? So everything is still moving, everything is still growing. You have the chance to embark on something and make it a piece of your own, and actually help in that capacity to forward the profession and the association. So that's one bit. The second bit is the mentorship. The individuals that I have learned to regard as a mentor, turns out they're actually some pretty heavy hitters, which I didn't know that, because I was just like, oh, I volunteer for everything, right? So, and then an organic relationship formed, and they're like, oh, you know Todd DeVoe? You know Vicky Osborne, right? Those are big names for the association. Todd, you're as president, Vicky Osborne as past president, or last year's president for CISA. I'm just like, yeah, I call them up regularly. No big deal. But I think we also have to get over our own boundaries. We tend to, at least for myself, I could say as an emerging professional, there's a little bit of timid energy coming in of like, oh, I can't possibly sit with them, right? That's the IT team. That's the board. They're untouchable. But they're not. They're really welcoming. They want to have the conversations with you. They want to show you what's going on. Shoot, if you take on some responsibilities, that means that they have also succeeded as well, right? Because they are moving the profession along and mentoring. So it's a win-win. And honestly, go and do it, because you got the gusto. You're trying to get in. That's the way to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, if anybody ever comes to the conferences, there's nobody who's unapproachable. I don't think I've ever. This is a great profession in that line, that everybody wants to help each other out, and I think this is why we're here in this profession. All right, So Ismar, what's happening with the Emergency Management Network? I know you got some stuff that you're working on, calendars and things like this. What's happening?
Oh man, a lot of schematic planning in the background. Since we're getting close on time, yes,
Yeah.
Getting close on time. Brief summary is to essentially create that kind of hub, right? Have a resource that you can utilize if you're looking for other resources. I know that there have been, even like with the calendar, so many events going on, and maybe one association has their calendar for their events, but it doesn't really live anywhere else except for that calendar. And then same with another association and another association, right? So hopefully with EMN, the goal is to collect with the calendar in this reference, to collect all the events that are happening and throw it on a calendar so that our members, our subscribers know what's going on nationwide, hopefully international at some point. But that's what's going on. Just trying to collect everything, make it unison.
Beautiful. And yeah, if you're looking to get in touch with us, you can go to emnmedia.com. You can click on the About and you can find Isamar there if you want to find her there. And also remember, always go over to the Substack and join over there. I'd love to have you as a member. We have the free tier if you want to start there and maybe venture on over to the upgrade. And and always the podcasts are on the emnmedia.com. And one other thing, a big announcement. We will be rolling out the emergency management network. That's already rolled out. The Leaders Cafe. And I'm moving Todd DeVoe show is going to be on the Emergency Management Network only. And Leaders Cafe is going to be our forward-facing podcast now, and I think you'll enjoy Leaders Cafe. And so, anything else before we go?
I'm still giggling at the fact that you said tee up the last question, and today is the opening for baseball, and it was a pun. That was chef's kiss. That was perfect.
All right, and hope you guys all hit home runs today. And national start of the baseball season. I'm excited. I just live down the road from Angel Stadium, and I plan on being there a few times this year. At least 20 or 30 games, and check out. Maybe maybe the Angels won't suck this year.
I have so much Googling to do about sports ball.
Sports ball. All right.
Sports ball.
Hey, everybody. It's been a pleasure having you. Until next week, please stay safe and stay hydrated.